Kind of been a while for us, Eric.
Yeah, it has been. I miss you.
A while.
You've done
Well,
great. You've done great. Have you enjoyed this whole thing, Amanda, or not?
Yes. I
Okay.
mean, I love talking about something I love. Like this movie's a masterpiece.
Oh, I agree. I
But,
agree.
it's we're alone. We're not getting to talk about it together. I mean, we are, right? We're here, right?
Yeah,
Talking,
it's not. I mean, I'm
it's
trying to
not
think
the
other
same.
other movies. Yeah, I guess I would be with the cast. Like I remember
Yeah,
many interviews with like Kate Blanchett for Benjamin Button or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
right.
I
And
would
then
love
we have
to.
the before and the after, and we get to it's just different. And it's for a movie like this, things just go a lot deeper. So,
I know. Well, I think yeah, it's a more. Well, maybe we'll exchange contacts. I'll call you later or
oh
something or
yeah, how do
tomorrow.
we not have
And we'll
this?
talk about all this, and I'll see you next week.
at the Oscars.
Why? Oh yeah,
Oh
that
yeah, that what day?
That little thing. Well, Amanda, let me start with a question to you. Marion Davies is probably not as known as other famous actresses of her other era. It feels like that her talent has been in a way obfuscated by the fact that she was Hearst's lover. So can you tell us what did you find out about her when you were working on this character? And what was the most important thing for you to be able to convey through your performance about her?
I mean, she was a real person with real contributions to our industry and the people in her life. And we her legacy is just there's this a huge shadow cast on it for two main reasons: being her mistress, but really she was his partner, and and being the inspiration behind the character, the very famous character of Susan Alexander Kane, and that overshadowed who she really was and what she brought to film. And I learned that she was incredibly talented. She was a really good comedian. I thought she was really funny, just immensely watchable, really effervescent, and she really was good at playing that madcap character that you don't see much of in these days. And she really was in her element, in especially in silent film. And I think we lost that along the way. It's been like a game of telephone. When we think of Marion Davies, we think about those big eyes, kind of like Betty Davis, right? Like that's what we think. And I didn't know much about her, but I realized that she was, of course, as an actor, I looked for the similarities between the two of us right off the bat. And what I read in the script was that she was really allergic to being dishonest, and she understood her place in the business, and she knew how to negotiate her way around people and different personalities. And she also wasn't really afraid to be who she was. And it's nice to dig into somebody's person, to how they connected to people, to how they walk through the world. And it's just really important to put a new spotlight on this woman who I think was really wonderful, and I would have loved to be friends with her. And when you see the movie, when you read the script, even right when that script landed in my lap, I was like, who is this woman? Why don't we know her?
Speaking of script, Eric, you do have a producer credit on this movie, but you're a famous writer. You worked with David Fincher on The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. You won an Oscar for Forrest Gump. I mean, and what, as a writer, what did you bring to the character of Herman Mankiewicz, the story, the way the film is telling it?
Well, David came to me. We're very close friends, close collaborators, good fighters, and he came to me and said, I've been wanting to do this movie that my dad wrote, and his dad had been gone for like 17 years. And he said, I think we have an opportunity to do this. And would you come join me? But I don't want you to join me per se as a writer. I'd like you to produce it, and let's protect everything my dad wrote and make it better, So I said, you got a deal. It was fine with me. And I thought the script was, honestly, if someone had said it out of the blue to me, I thought it was like 85% there to begin with. So I thought it needed some readjustments, some research we needed to do. And so I did, I did a kind of writing, which they call A through H in the Writers Guild, which is reorganizing things, you know, adding a line of dialogue here or there. But I think we maintain the integrity of this man's voice for this material. And David and I would Zoom every morning, 5:30 a.m. sharp for like 3 hours, page by page, line by line, because he's crazy and wonderful and, you know, completely, so specific to what he wants and logical. And it's an interesting way to work. He's so precise, and to me, it's his masterwork. And I'm just glad I had the opportunity. So as a producer, I mean, which I had produced like House of Cards, I'd done television stuff, but I was always with just working with the writers in the writers' rooms, or the head writer particularly. And in this case, I didn't really know much about producing. So it was like, I decided, what the hell, I'll just learn what it is, you know. And I mean, the real producer is like Sion Chapin, and there's a man named Douglas Urbanski. But I think I did a good job of being his eyes and ears behind him, you know, and speaking up and getting to work with like incredible actors like this person over here, you know, we all became, and I'll shut up. I mean, David, I think, does two things. One, I thought the cast was in a way like Orson Welles had on his theater group, like a stock company, you know, same thing with the movies. He had the same actors, you know, basically. So it became, everybody was working together in the nicest of ways, you know, put their egos aside. And then it's the same with all the crafts that he has. I mean, he has, I think, the most, you know, the best craftsman in the business. And it's one of the reasons the movie, and it deservedly so, got so many Oscar nominations, because everybody's working at the highest level, and he's a great leader. So that's what I would say about the script, that we molded it in a way that only enhanced what the man had written.
Yeah. And Amanda, one of the many things that David Fincher is known is for asking his actor to do a lot the same, you know, the same take. And for some actors, it wears them down, and others really enjoy it because they get where they need to be. What's your position on multiple takes?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I do realize that it was impossible to walk away from any day on set and feel like I hadn't fully explored the moment, which is very rare these days. You really don't get the opportunity to sit down the way we did in the rehearsal process. I mean, we weren't just sitting down with David, we were sitting down with Eric, and we were bouncing things off of each other. So it was already starting to get in my body. And then we would rehearse the scenes on the location, and it just, every level made it sit with me even more so. So the time I got on set, I really felt like I was almost there. And then you just had almost unlimited access to the space, like everything that these craftsmen were creating. We could go forever if it took forever to get that moment. Like it, you know, we'd always get there, of course, but I really do prefer it this way. And I haven't worked on anything since. So I am curious to see how I fit in now in this, you know, filmmaking, because I do think he put a spotlight on something that I wasn't super aware of.
Like, I'd like to interrupt just for her performance, and I would have said this if I had just watched it, but being there to witness it, I mean, there's a breathtaking quality about it, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I'm dropping a name, but Bob De Niro told me a long time that great actors know how to listen, and she is incredible, because there's the scene in particular. Never mind what I think she did with, you know, sort of channeling this human being and bringing about all the pathos and humanity of the person, but the scene, the big scene in the drawing room where everybody's just sitting and talking, she really had to listen. I mean, there wasn't really much dialogue for her, and she was oddly, in a way, David made her the center of the scene, and yet it was jumping all around. You know, you guys just watched the movie, but it's just an incredible performance, and it's something for the ages for me.
Oh, I love listening though. That's the thing. Like, how fun. I just think, I know silent movies aren't just listening, you know, but it felt like I was dipping my toe a little bit. And I just think it'd be so fun one day to, you know, to sit down and to experience that the way the way she did, or just in general, just because it's when you don't have words, it's you feel like a little at a loss. What you do is you create this story that, I mean, we need words, um, but I didn't have any of it. I couldn't be speaking, and then you don't hear it, but you see the words, nothing. So it was interesting. It was very,
Yeah.
but
And
it
then
was a
she
lot to
also,
listen to.
yeah, but she also, I mean, because when I first gave it, I said, are you sure you want this to be a platonic relationship? Those are very unusual in life, it doesn't, because you have a crush on her, vice, whatever. And so, no, I want to maintain a platonic relationship, whatever's equal or unequal about it. And they did it together. I mean, it's really been amazing with Gary that they felt like this was a unique relationship between the two of them, and Amanda was just incredible at delivering that.
It's true that some of the loveliest moments in the film are your moments with Marion Davies and Erwin Mankiewicz together. What do you think, Amanda, drove it, and both of you drew it to each other?
Well, I think they see each other see themselves in each other. I think it's almost immediate, probably when they met at John Gilbert's birthday, that they were two peas in a pod, and that they don't take bullshit, and they they are unapologetically themselves, and I think you feel safe when you meet somebody like that, because there aren't many of them. Also, like, I mean, who wouldn't want to be friends with Herman Mankiewicz, first of all?
Yeah,
But
it's very, very tough to be friends with. He was a tough guy. Yeah.
Um, Over the years, I've encountered filmmakers that told me that they would have liked to actually, directors in particular, work within the studio system, the 30s and the 40s, because they would have made a lot of movies, and each film was not like a roller coaster, and and you don't know if the next one comes. How do you, both of you, do you think you would have been able to exist creatively in Hollywood in the 30s, which it's a really incredible portrait that David gives us.
As close as I've been to that experience, I'm not sure I really liked very much. At one point, very early on, at Warner Brothers, like I'm really dating myself, but this was like the late 60s, early 70s. If you had long enough hair, they hired you. If you had really long hair, and they had a building which was all young, probably mostly male writers, but I mean, it felt like you were going to hear Jack Warner not walking around the hallway and said, "I don't hear any typing," So, but the same problems arose. I think it may be how television directors feel, though. I don't know enough about television where they get to come back the following week. I guess there might be. I mean, I actually have to ask David. He has a wonderful relationship with Netflix. He's been great, obviously, on this movie and other things David's done, and he has a form of carte blanche with them. So that's a kind of a studio cachet, I guess. But they let him maintain his independence. I mean, there's not much of the way notes or anything. So that would be the difference. The studio system, obviously, even today, and then you had a note on every page as to how it had to go. The unique thing about this, Citizen Kane, was that with this Wunderkind who showed up, Orson Welles, he made a deal where he didn't have to have any notes, so that Mankiewicz and him, and particularly Mankiewicz to begin with, were the complete creative forces. So I think it's nice to have a structure where you're making things, and then I think it would depend on who's running the studio. You could say Paramount was great when Bob Evans was running Godfather and all that, So I guess it would depend. That'd be my answer.
yeah.
What about
like
you, Amanda? Amanda, what about you? It's hard to imagine a career like yours, which is it's adventurous and interesting, to be possible in a realm where it's you kind of be handed the script and told what movie to do.
I mean, it's been so diverse. I've made a lot of choices, and I've very deliberate choices, and I've also been handed things that I couldn't turn down, and I've gotten to bob and weave all around, and it's been great. But I have this weird, I'm very loyal in my bones, so it's always a little weird to jump from studio to studio. based on what I'm doing, because it's not about the studio. Obviously, it's about the script and the director and the character, but and the story. But I don't know. I feel like it is like it must be like TV. I just wouldn't. For instance, Marion did a movie, 2 movies a year. You know, depending like just so many things, and I wonder if she had time, like space in her heart to really fully um, explore each part. You know, I wonder which ones she loved most, and the ones that she couldn't get rid of, like walk away from so easily. And so I don't know. That would be a bit bizarre. But I've worked with Universal so many times that I like in some ways expect them to just think of me first. I don't expect them to, but they should.
They should. I agree.
They should. They should. Did you watch a lot of films of the 30s to get a sense of the ambience, the moves, the talk, the visual language?
I think I'm in some ways, because my father, I grew up with I mean, he's beyond a cinephile. He has projectors in our basement. They're still there. I took pictures of him the other week because I'm trying to donate some of his nitrate film because I'm scared to stay there when I'm visiting Pennsylvania. And he takes good care of them. Obviously, they're not rotting, but like I grew up in it, so I have a visceral experience with that cadence. And when I knew about this project, I thought, I don't know if I can do that. And I like to imitate, but it has to be grounded. And so I don't know how I'm going to find the middle ground, because I know how these people spoke, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me to figure that out for some reason. Picture me there, because it feels so far away, and it feels so far away from when I really was surrounded by it all the time. And it was also a lot of silent movies. I mean, I was growing up with Laurel and Hardy, like TV shows, and Buster Keaton, but I don't know. It was really intimidating, which is funny because I was really, that was what I was surrounded by as a kid. He didn't watch football games. We went downstairs after dinner at 7 o'clock, and he'd like light up the.
I didn't even know this. I love this about you.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. It was amazing. It was amazing. And it's funny. Sorry, weird thing weird little tidbit is that I really didn't know a lot of female like actresses from the era, from the 20s and the 30s, because it was like, City Lights and James Cagney. He was obsessed with James Cagney, and I remember Nosferatu was a movie that I really loved, and it was it's interesting. I don't know what that means.
Give them all to I'm on the board of governors. Academy. You should give them the Academy Museum.
Well, I'm speaking with somebody by email from American Cinematheque, because they have a base in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they're great too. They're great too. Yeah.
So I don't know, but he's not ready. He's freaking out, and we had a fight about it.
Your father is not ready to give them up?
No, and I was like, what if you die and I have all these things? Like, I'm gonna have to do this one day. And he's like, they're my films. I'm gonna get back into it. But pretty great, 16 35 millimeter, it's listen, I love the fact that I could be transported myself, as an actor. I think it's one of the most beautiful I don't know, experiences for me and for him, and I just wish he'd been to set, but he couldn't get there.
Yeah, well, I must say that I have seen it. I'm kind of a cinephile. I'm not Marty Scorsese in any way, but I know a lot about movies, and I've seen, however many 30s and late 20s movies and all. And so I was familiar with the sound of that and the tropes, and where things are a little larger than life. I mean, you'll notice things in the movie that David was so astute about, like that same drawing room scene we were talking about, where he doesn't have anybody get up and do crosses, and get cocktails or anything. Everybody stays kind of seated, which is what they did in the 30s movies, because they were like stage plays that way, and then there's always somebody would be like a little bit bigger than life, like Houseman is in this, I think, just a touch where you have a little bit of satire about it. They're a little more pompous than, you might have today. And I was talking to somebody, I won't mention who, but the other day, a very astute person said, gee, they weren't overlapping dialogue or anything. I said, no, that's not what happened in the 30s. Right. Someone said a line, someone answered a line, Yeah, so he really kept it accurate.
He did, and that's the thing. I didn't know if I was going to be able to fit into that because it was going to be so accurate, but also I'm good at grounding things, and I didn't know if I can ground something in that time. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
tricky because
yeah,
he really did shoot it like a 1940s movie. So, I mean,
amazing,
that was
amazing.
In
such a trick.
the film portrays a Hollywood which is very smart, witty, beautiful, wealthy, and ruthless. I wonder, is this? Do you think this is Fincher's vision of the industry? And do you agree? Do you share it?
That's a great question. I think it is. I think it's a combination of many of those things that David does feel. You'd have to ask him. I mean, he does. He has a very healthy cynicism about things, and he also is very realistic about what is and what isn't. And he, yeah, he doesn't suffer fools, and he recognizes, you know, how the crass the business can be, and also how you know, craven and how tough it is on people, you know, spit out and all that stuff. And, you know, that you have to maintain your own integrity. And yeah, so I say David would say yes to that, but I say I can't answer for him. For me, I don't know. I'm a little bit of a sentimentalist, so I like to think, you know, maybe a little more Pollyanna, but it isn't. I mean, I can tell you the week we got nominated for this, on a Wednesday, I was fired from a script I'd been on. You know, I was going to be rewritten. So it was like, so it goes, you know, so it goes. But so it is a, you know, it's a business. But this was one of those unique experiences, which Amanda said, it's a masterwork. And I think I think I've had 25 movies made, or 20 something. This is as close to a work of art that I've been involved with, and there's no question about it. You know, and thanks to people like her.
Well, I think we're running out of time, but I have one last. Oh, there is a question. Yes, you can ask a question. Someone is asking a question. I will repeat it.
Yeah, hi, it's for Amanda. It's kind of a double question. Had you read Cervantes as a girl or as a teenager? Had you read Don Quixote?
No, no way. That was never on our what do you call it? Syllabus.
Syllabus.
Oh. No, I was just, okay.
Okay. Well, my last thing is before saying goodbye and thanking you again is how this is the last thing of the Oscar campaign. How grueling is it to get to an Oscar campaign and so close to the Academy Award ceremony?
I mean, I wouldn't know because at least I get to be home. I know it's a lot. I mean, it's been 2 months longer than any Oscar campaign, but you don't really know what you're doing at first until Netflix or whoever the studio is like, okay, keep going. But also, like, how nice is it to talk about this?
I mean, I think it's a mixed blessing. I mean, on one hand, it's like, how great is this? I mean, in other words, speak about something we're so proud of and work really hard to get it to be as good as possible. The other side of it is I know I've been through it, fortunately, and it's like you want to be invited to the party and you may not want to go, but
Yeah.
it's incredible. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is my 6th or 7th time, and anyway, there are a few times when you go through it where you afterwards say, I really need a shower, because you've put yourself out there, and it's you get tired of hearing yourself talk about yourself. You know?
Yeah, and the political aspect of it is always a little bit, you
Yeah,
know.
it's a little better this year because there's not, you know, in the past, someone like Harvey Weinstein was a genius at manipulating publicity, where he would make, you know, he was good at it. I mean, if you think it's a good trait, but he would take some downside of a movie and make it bad publicity, so you know he could manipulate the votes that way. And it's we don't have that this year that I'm aware of it in any way, shape, or form. So I guess there's in an odd way, a little more purity to it.
It does. I mean, we're all kind of sitting at home. That's the thing. And
Yeah.
there's something great. There's a benefit there for sure.
Yeah,
Being
no
inside.
No question.
There is one more question, and then I promise I will let you go, because you've been very generous with your time, and it's actually great to hear how enthusiastic you're about the film and the love you have for it.
It's actually not a question, it's just praise.
I think the movie was just fantastic. It was wonderful. Amanda, I think you were wonderful in the movie. And if we were sitting in the 30s in the glamour of Hollywood, you would be right at the center, as an actress. I think you were just, fantastic.
That means a hell of a lot.
Well,
Thanks.
and with this, it seems like a nice close. Congratulations again for the work. It is magnificent. We are really happy we could show it big, finally,
Lucky.
and it's a big treat for our audience. So thanks again for having made the time to visit, and I hope at some point we'll able to host you in person.
Love
Oh
it.
God, yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay, thank you
Thanks
again.
Thanks for the chance. Bye-bye.
Bye.